goes into one of these groups and discusses this, well, there may very well be a more critical view that comes out of that than there would be for, I'm trying to think about another stereotypical kind of respondent here, but can't think of an example right now. But that leads me to a second point, and I think that's a bit of that's an important fact to keep in mind for a lot of these deliberative meetings, is that they're self-selected, is that the people who go there ultimately self-select into these meetings. So, you know, it's sometimes tempting when I look at these results to say, oh, it's interesting that people think this, but it's interesting to think that the people who actually took the X amounts of dollars that they got and went through the effort to actually do 3 rounds over the course of 3 weeks to do this, that particular group of people thought in a certain way, and that's certainly, I do think that's part of the explanation in that case as well.
I've got just 2 quick comments and then a question. About the issue of the ethics of framing, it seems like from the perspective of communication research, everything's framed. There's no such thing as an unframed message. The question is only the explicitness, strength, directionality of the frame, so on. So the question of the ethics of framing and the presumption that there might be an unframed message is at best kind of naive, and flies in the face of about 2,000 years of data, right? The second is that the question of spin requires that you take a position of advocate. And one of the concerns that I have about some things that's going on in science communication is that oftentimes people who don't at all intend to take the position of advocate, because we have a problem of information and knowledge gap, often articulate in ways that are easy to frame as advocate positions. And the best comparison I can make is to problems in policy science studies, in which there are explicit positions of policy analysts who are issue advocates or client advocates, which are some of the framing issues you're talking about. And then there are people who are policy scientists who are neither issue nor client advocates, but are after the question of how do we best analyze, talk about policy. So it might be there's an analogy there in terms of talking about what we're doing in science communication that is non-advocate in terms of its function. The question I have is actually incredibly simple, which is there a relationship or is there research on relationships between degrees of cognitive complexity on the parts of readers and audiences and how they receive to framing? And I don't want to draw any comparison to the religiosity kind of research, but the question about how cognitively complex is your audience, and then what does that mean in terms of how they interact with framing effects?
Yeah. I've seen data on 2 different things, and in our data set, we have one of the 2. The initial framing work in political science, which is not the initial framing work period, but that's actually later, it's in the 80s and 90s. But Chantal Iyengar at Stanford and others have been doing work where they looked at how strong framing effects in local television are in candidate stances and to attributions of responsibility and so on. And what they found is that it's actually a fairly mixed bag, so that the people who are highly politically aware and very attentive to these things, on the one hand, are able to filter out some of these frames. So this is not exactly what you're getting at, but this is 1/2 of a possible answer, and I'm going to not provide an answer to your exact question. But so part of it was that in part they could avoid frames for certain issues, but for others, because they were so interested, they just ate up all the frames that they were being fed, right? So it was kind of a mixed bag. The thing that we have in our data set is also not cognitive complexity. What we have in there is information processing strategies. So the idea that different people take different strategies when they process information, they either are more integrators, meaning they go out and they try to fit what they read with what they already know. They try to build the complete picture, or they're more selective scanners, meaning they go through, if a photo, one of the items is if a photo headline catches your eye, you stop and read, but ultimately you skim, pretty much. And what we also see is in that case is that, again, these people pick up, the high processors pick up much more on the frames than the low processors in many ways. So if you hold, again, you need to control other stuff. What do they know beforehand about that particular issue and so on? But the high processors picking up much more. I'm getting a timeout here, that's why I look. And so again, the idea that cognitive complexity, I think it's a function of media literacy. So do highly complex people have the ability to understand what's going on there, to understand the Frank Luntz logic of communication? And because if not, then you fall right in the trap, because you read it much more carefully. And if you watch every piece of the Democratic Convention, eventually you'll get the frames that are in there. You'll extract them because they keep getting repeated. And so in a way, your cognitive complexity potentially, and I'm guessing a little bit, but potentially works against you in that particular case. At least I wouldn't be surprised. But again, I'm giving you a somewhat evasive answer, but that's because I don't have data on particularly what you're asking. Thank you.
Go sit up, John.